Okay, so we are live. So hello, Kristen and Sydney in the future. I hope you're both doing well. So assignments. I think most people turned in their observations of geometry and the discussion here. So I'm going to go through and grade those this week. Following the observations of geometry there, I have a slightly different version of a similar idea. Here, not just geometry, but specifically I wanted you to focus on the plane figures that we've been messing with. So I want you to look around in nature or construction or art, anywhere, and look for some kind of plane figure that we've talked about. A square, quadrilateral, a triangle, a hexagon, a pentagon. Anyway, find it somewhere in your existence. And then if you can, get a picture of it. I'd really like to see some kind of image, or maybe sketch it if you're a good sketcher. And you can then upload any kind of image to your Canvas account. The trick to it is it looks like you could just hit reply here and then hit the image button and put your image there, but you can't. You can only, that image button only works for images that you get from Flickr, from some website that already exists out there on the web, or in Canvas if you already stored the file. Okay. So the trick to doing a post in Canvas with an image you created is the first thing you have to do is go to your account, and under files you have to upload whatever image you have. Okay. Once it's there, then you can use it in a post in a discussion forum in Canvas. Okay. So over the next week, look around, and so slightly more focused this time. Instead of anything geometrical, we're focusing specifically on a plane figure. So somewhere you see a plane figure in your universe, your environment. Okay. And then tell me something about it and include the image of it. And then we'll all get to see each other's posts here, and we can talk about them later.
On the email,
yeah,
on Canvas, like if I do it on my phone, sometimes it'll let me just upload the picture. I wonder if I do that.
So it turns out the inbox in Canvas works different than discussions in Canvas. So although they let you upload images directly, it doesn't make any sense to me, into the inbox message, you can't do it in discussion for some reason. But maybe the phone works slightly different. I don't know. Do you use the app or just you go to the website?
The website.
Yeah, chances are it probably won't behave any different. That somehow the discussion forums behave slightly different than the inbox in Canvas. But I can do it because I'm a teacher. I get some extra privileges, but last couple times I tried with students, they couldn't put images directly in there. They had to upload them first, then come back here and put them in. If you can get them in directly, then please show me how. I couldn't get it to work under the student view.
Is Flickr still a thing? What is it?
Oh yeah, Flickr's awesome.
Yeah,
Flickr's been around a long time. It's a place people post images, and you can post images there in a variety of ways. You can put images there that people can then use, but they have to pay you to use them, or you can put images there that are free or have some special copyright, or what's called the Creative Commons license on them. And pretty much anyone can make an account and put stuff in there. Let's see, I think I have a Flickr account. No, because they don't want to sign in with Yahoo, so I decided not to. But I can search for, geometry. And it'll give me a ton of images. Most of the images they give me, though, are copyright, and so I don't have the right to use them without trying to contact the person who owns it and get permission to use it, which means I might have to pay a fee to use it. When you do search in Flickr, there's an option here most people don't notice called license, any license. If you search instead for Creative Commons licenses, they're a different version of licensing something than a copyright. And so here, if I pick an image like this one right here, it'll tell me what my rights to use the image are. And so I can click on some rights. It brings up a new tab, and it says it's an attribution share alike, which means I can use the image as long as I cite it came from this person and this is where I got it. And then I'm allowed to use the image. And sometimes the license allows you to use it but not change it in any way. Other times it allows you to do things to it. Like this one says I can remix, transform, build upon it. So I can use this image in other works, not just straight. If that makes sense.
It's come a long way.
Yeah, Flickr's awesome. There's an alternative for images that I use a lot called Pixabay. And Pixabay, it's pretty similar. You can create an account there if you want. You can post images there if you want, or you can search for other people's images. And here, they work a little different. They have sponsored images at the top. These are from Shutterstock. You have to pay for them. The ones below are they're usually Creative Commons 0, which is pretty much like a public domain image, which means the whole world has the right to use it and do whatever they want. It's good manners to cite where you got it from and the author of the image, but if it's CC0, you don't have to. So I prefer you do the image, but if you find somebody on Pixabay took a better image of the thing you're interested in, that's fine too. Just some kind of image illustrating a plane figure. Like here we have some lovely squares. Okay. All right, so that was fun. Okay, so I just want to go over this stuff that's due soon. So the plane figure observations, so if you could find something there soon. Last couple of classes, we played Name That Polygon. Hopefully everybody finished Name That Polygon and can give me something like today would be great, if you haven't already. Oh, we didn't finish that. Everybody was supposed to report back with a description of a polygon, and we were supposed to share that with the rest of the people in the class and try to name it. So how many people are prepared with their own version of Name That Polygon today? One. We talked about that last Thursday. We started it last Wednesday. We talked about it last Monday. We did it some more Thursday, and I asked everyone to come. I asked everyone to come today with a description of a polygon. We have one prepared person. Oh.
The only reason I'm prepared is because I did it right.
You did it right again. All right, so I'm going to ask one more time. So Wednesday, we're going to finish Name That Polygon. So everybody needs to have a brief description of some polygon properties, and then everybody else is going to see if they can name it. Now, it could be like some of the ones in that exercise, it's not nameable. Remember that happened to us a couple of times? It was a broad range of shapes that didn't have a special name, but sometimes it has a special name. It's up to you how you want to play it. You're the author. So this is worth 5 extra points to show up prepared on class Wednesday. If you can't make it to class, then email it to me so I can play it with everybody else. We're going to finish Name That Polygon on, I skipped to the next one. We're going to finish Name That Polygon on Wednesday. Today's Monday, right? Yes. Okay. We started the cut it out activity. We did the first 2 pages of that. And I am going to come back to that after I go over Taylor's problem from section 3 by showing you my version of page 3 on that.
I was never able to get my symmetrical.
Never, yeah.
Cutting.
Yeah, so my belief was, after playing around with it a little bit, that if we didn't make that first angle perfectly 60 degrees and fold it right, then we would be cutting forever. Yeah, because it turns out if you take an angle that doesn't evenly go into 180, then you're cutting forever in a circle. So if you came out to like 58 degrees or 57 degrees, or 62.
It was really close.
Yeah, and usually if it's close, you can just fudge it. So I'll show my example where I kind of had to fudge it at the end because I was close but not exact. Okay. So we'll come back to that in a minute. We're going to finish cut it out today. That's about point symmetry and line symmetry. Angles of a triangle, I had asked you last week, that's activity 5. It's not a very exciting activity, but it's all about how many degrees are inside the angles of a triangle. And they give you 2 angles and ask you to find the 3rd angle by building a triangle and measuring. And you should all have one of those funky protractor non-lethal compasses to work with. So please finish that up and try to turn that in by Wednesday. What's up?
I don't think I kept those.
Okay, I will. If I don't have any here and I'll see them, I'll grab one out of my office for you in a minute.
Okay.
All right, so that's for homework. We're not going to do that in class. After we do Taylor's problem and we finish cut it out today, we're going to jump into the pattern block angles activity, which is number 6. If we have time, which we might, we'll do activity 7. And I really like activity 7 because activity 7 gives us a chance to stand up and get physical, not just get physical with toys to do some geometry. So if we don't get to 7 today, we'll get to 7 next class. There's a chance we'll get to start it. We'll see. And we'll get to play with that GeoGebra software I showed a little the last 2 classes. You're going to get to try it for activity 7. And I give you a starter file here to help you get started with it. All right, so Taylor's problem, if I got this right, is about diagonals in a polygon. And this was from the homework for 11.3, number 10. And my version of it, the given information, said if I have a pentagon, and it may have said regular, I'm not positive. So here's my pentagon there. If I pick on one vertex, so let's call this vertex right here, vertex A, how many diagonals does A have? Anybody remember what a diagonal of a polygon is?
It's the the non-consecutive ones.
Yeah, it connects any 2 non-adjacent or non-consecutive vertices. So if I go around and label these things as B and C and D and E, A is adjacent to E and B here, meaning it's already connected, but D and C are non-adjacent. And so what the question said was that in a pentagon, any particular vertex will have 2 diagonals coming out of it in a pentagon, right? So the only 2 things A wasn't already connected with were D and C. It's already connected with E and B. If we pick on B, what diagonals does B have? BE and BD. Yeah, so it also has 2. So this isn't a pentagon. So the book was pretty much trying to give us a rule that any vertex in a pentagon will have 2 diagonals. So draw a hexagon. Yep.
Kristen just texted us. Just trying to get
Okay. She doesn't know how. Okay.
She says, I haven't got anything to get started.
So there's if you can tell her to go check the home page, YouTube and Google Hangouts. There's a line there that explains where to go to get on. She's going to go to my Google Plus page. I don't think I have her Gmail address. Oh, that could be her. Do you know if she is Chris Powell 32? All right, try a direct invite. Also, okay, but if anybody needs to get in live and they're not on campus, there's a link right here to my Google Plus page, and that's where live links show up. Hopefully Kristen will join us soon. Hey, there she is. Oh, where's my
Okay, I for some reason did not.
Hi. Good to see you. Yeah, so in the future, from the home page, YouTube and Google Hangouts, my Google Plus page has the live link. All right, so let's see where we're. We are back here. All right, so so next what I'd like you to do is draw a hexagon. And in a hexagon, how many diagonals does any vertex have? here's my hexagon, I think. A, B, C, D, E, and F. Yep, that's hexagon. I pick on any one of these, like A is not connected to C, or D, or E. So in a hexagon, how many diagonals does any vertex get? 3. So now the question is there a pattern? So a hexagon, each vertex has 3 diagonals. Any idea what's going to happen with a 7-gon? 4 diagonals. So we just did a pentagon. It had what? 2 diagonals. How about a quadrilateral? Should have 1 diagonal. So draw a random quadrilateral. Double check. Here's my random quadrilateral. 4 vertices and 4 edges. If I pick on any one vertex, it has only 1 diagonal. So again, we're not looking at the total number of diagonals, just from the perspective of a vertex. How many diagonals does it have? And a diagonal is a line segment that connects a vertex to a non-adjacent vertex. So there's 1 there. All right, so here comes some tricky parts. What if it was a 22-gon? Would have how many diagonals per vertex?
19.
19? All right, so what if we then switch to just an n-gon?
N-3. Yeah.
N-3. Yeah, we'll have N-3 diagonals per vertex. Cool. Yeah, so that problem involved a little exploration.
What was the problem where it was n-1 over 2?
That n-1 over 2 probably comes from given n points, how many lines connect them? That sound familiar?
Have you gotten that far?
I did that one, yeah.
Given,
On my computer.
let's say 4 points. Ooh.
Uh-oh.
How many lines connect them? Now, we don't want the 4 points to be collinear because then there's just 1 line, right? So we want them to be, so we're talking about like maximum number of lines. So I'm just going to set them in a nice regular grid as if they were sitting on maybe a circle. So those are my 4 points. So counting, I have 1 connection there, this one needs to connect there, this one needs to connect there. All right, so then I move on to this one right here. Already connected up there, I get it connected here and here. Now it's done. This one connects there. So what do I get? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines. We'll connect 4 points. I don't know if this is the problem you're asking about. Is that familiar? Doesn't look familiar?
No, because then it would help that equation. So it would be 4 minus 1 divided by 2.
Oh.
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
So, well, so hold that thought. We've seen this before.
It was the handshake.
This is the same as the handshake problem. Yeah, 4 people are in a room, they need to meet each other. How many interactions have to happen to meet, right? So here we have Ashley and Becky and Catherine and Doreen, and they all need to meet each other. So this is how it would happen. It would take 6 introductions for that to take place. And the way to think about it is, let's focus on Ashley here. Ashley has 1, 2, 3 people to meet, right? Okay. How many people does B have to meet? Well, so really, how many does she have to meet?
3.
She only has 3 to meet. Everybody has 3 people to meet, okay? So what we have here is that there are 4 people, and each of those people has 3 people to meet. Now the problem with that counts Ashley meeting Becky and Becky meeting Ashley, so we double count it. So we have to cut that in half to adjust. 4 times 3 is 12, divided by 2 gives us the 6 we have here. So that's the formula way of coming up with the 6 instead of drawing the picture. And it turns out 4 is our n, 3 is n minus 1. That's how many people each of us have to meet, right? Or how many other vertices there are on the screen, but then we don't want to double count, so we divide by 2. That look more familiar? Yeah, and I do remember assigning a problem like this. I was figuring people would ask about it, so thank you for asking. You asked about a good one too. And these are both fun problems.
That's where I'm at. And that's where I was taking.
Yeah, so yeah, there's the n minus 1 over 2. Is in that problem. Cool, problem solving. Love this stuff. All right, so I think we're ready to move on and look back upon activity 4. So let's see, is Kristen still? Uh-oh, what happened to my YouTube screen? Oh, there we go. Kristen's still out there. Still sharing my screen. So activity 4 was the cut it out activity. And at first we were asked to play with a 60-degree line, and my belief is that if we weren't close enough to 60 degrees, we could end up folding and cutting forever and ever these tiny little bits off. In the activity on our site, I posted a link to some photos of snapshots of me trying this. Let me bring that up. So here was an attempt I made before class where I have my line AB and I cut through B with line CB so that that angle was as close to 60 degrees as I could get it. And then my polygon, only thing I need to ensure is that point B is somewhere inside of it. It doesn't have to be in the middle. And it can be any polygon, convex, concave, simple, crazy. And then I just jump through, we fold it in half. There's the other side. And then here I cut along one side, flipped it over, and I cut along the other side. And what I end up with is a figure that's symmetric around AB. Then we were to fold, this is BC over here, supposed to fold across BC and cut again. So now I have a figure that's symmetric around BC, but it's not around AB anymore. So then we fold again. And eventually what should happen after the third try here, I should get something that is symmetric, not only around AB and BC, but if I drew another line through here, which I do in the next screen, it's symmetric around that one too. And it turns out the reason is 60 goes into 180 1, 2, 3 times. And once we go to 180, we do another 180 and we're back where we started. So it turns out 180 is a key number because there's 360 degrees in the full rotation. Half rotation gives us kind of a mirror image type thing, or what's called point symmetry.
Is that different than rotational symmetry?
It's the same thing, yeah. So point symmetry is rotational symmetry at 180 degrees.
Okay. I actually was going to ask you about that because I was really confused on.
Yeah, so all point symmetry is a special kind of rotational symmetry. It's a 180-degree rotational symmetry. So if we look back at our activity, so that was page 1 there, and page 2, the top of page 2. And then they asked us to do it again for 90 degrees. So I don't know if did anyone get around to doing it for 90 degrees? I think we started in class, right? Yeah, okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, you got your 90-degree one there. Oh yeah, I got mine right here. Yeah. So it's a slightly different shape. Instead of having, in this case, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 segments coming around, it only has really like 4 quadrants going around. And that one is our point symmetry. On the next page of the activity, we didn't get to this. They're asking us to look for a pattern here, and I'm going to go through this pattern with you in just a second. And then they ask us to actually do it for 30 degrees. So I'll show you my sequence of pictures for 30 degrees in just a sec. I'm going to copy this into my worksheet and see if you can help me figure this out. So the trick is related to the number of lines of symmetry, which happens to be the maximum number of folds. And by the maximum number of folds, coming back to this picture, I could make a third fold that I didn't have before, and I get perfect symmetry again, if my cuts went right. And mine went relatively right. My one in class, I seem to be twisting and cutting forever on that one. And that was just like, so here's mine. If you look, they're a little bit different on each part, but it's close. So I was a little, I think it's because I was a little off on 60. I haven't come up with another good reason yet as to why I would be off, but I think that's the reason. Let's see, Tiffany, were you here for that cutting? Okay. Oh, so everybody was here except for you. You weren't here. Okay.
I did it at home.
You did that home? Yeah. So this was the one I tried. The pictures I was just showing you, it came out pretty good. The one I tried in class, if you look at each of those, it's just a little bit different, not quite the same. So something went wrong in my 60-degree. I didn't feel it. And this was the 90. So, like an octagon kind of shape. All right, so let's find a pattern here. So help me out. So 2 went with 90, 3 went with 60, 4 went with 45. Does anybody see something connecting 2, 90, 3, 60, 4, 45?
Like if you multiply 4 and 45, you'll get 180.
Yeah, if you multiply those together, you get 180. Yeah, so, or other way around, if you take 4 into 180, you get 45. 3 goes into 180, 62 goes in 90. So if we looked at 5, how many times does 5 go into 180?
36.
Yeah, so what we would expect, if we went and made a 36-degree angle instead of a 60-degree angle, we would find 5 folds of symmetry in the thing that we created, and it would take us basically 5 folds to cut and make that happen. 30 degrees would lead to how many folds? 6. It would lead to 6. Okay. So let me show you me trying 6 in a photo gallery. So I have another photo album here, and you guys can go check these out later if you want. So I drew a 30-degree angle, and the first line I labeled AB, and then I drew the 30-degree angle, and I labeled that BC, and then I drew my figure around it. Okay. And then I just start folding and cutting. So here's my first set of cuts. I had to flip it over and cut the rest out. So after my first fold, cut it, flip it, cut it, I'm symmetric around AB, right? Okay. So next I'm going to fold around BC and cut both sides. So I don't show both sets of cuts. I just cut it on both sides. Agreed, this is symmetric around BC now, but it's not symmetric around AB anymore. Okay. So there's one, this is my second. This is my third iteration. Now it's symmetric around AB. Fourth iteration is symmetric around BC, but not AB anymore. Right? It looks kind of like a turtle, but only in one direction. Number 5, getting closer. Lost some symmetry in one direction, gained it in the other. And here's number 6. Okay. So like your problem with 60, it didn't quite work out after 3 tries. Here I've done it 6 times. I'm pretty darn close, but this figure is pretty tiny at this point. That's it right there. I was having trouble using my scissors to get it done. So this figure is the longest measurement there is about 1 inch. Okay. So from tip to tip here is about 1 inch, 2.5 centimeters. So I was having a really hard time cutting at that point with the big fat scissors I had. And I was also using cardstock. That was probably a mistake. That made it hard to fold and cut too. So I'm pretty close. I did it one more time to see if there was a difference, and I didn't really see a noticeable difference. I just cut these microscopic little pieces off the edge. So what I believe I have is how many lines of symmetry do you think I have here? Or how many folds?
Six.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I drew them all on the next. Sure, no, did I not take a picture of it? Oh, I didn't take the last picture. Darn it. Okay. Well, I'm going to show it up here for the camera then. Let's see how I do that. Let me see that. As this guy right here. Focus on me right there. No, I can't focus that close. But can you see my 6 lines there now? My
That's
6
great.
folds. All right. So we took a pattern and a theory. I put it in action and it actually worked. It's kind of fun. All right. So I'm going to leave it to you to fill out the rest of those. Do not, I repeat, do not try to draw, fold, and cut all of these. Okay? That's not the assignment. You will go nuts doing that. Question?
So like 8 lines of symmetry, you would divide 180 by 8.
8.
And then you get 5.
That's correct. Yeah, that would be 22.5 degrees.
So then for 20, you would have fraction.
20 goes into 180 9 times. So that should be okay. 18 would be 10 times. 10 lines of symmetry. Yeah, so right, if it comes out to a fractional number of folds, it doesn't really work. It turns out you go around and around cutting and cutting and cutting and cutting because you can't have a fractional number of folds. Either it's a whole fold or it's not a whole fold. You can have a fraction of a degree, but you can't have a fraction number of folds because you're folding the paper in half, right? How can you fold it just partway in half? I'm not sure what that means. And then 10 would be what? 18 folds. We do not want to do that. I think with a regular thin piece of paper, that's probably not even possible. What do you think, Ashley?
Probably gonna try it.
You're going to try it?
Oh, definitely.
No, you're not. Okay.
We'll see. Depends on how busy I am.
Okay. So where's that activity? Oh, here it is. Okay, so we check that out. And then just think about regular polygons. We're going to play more with polygons today. And then I'll check with you on Wednesday to see if there's any questions here. You don't need to do the extension, but if anybody wants some extra credit, go for it. Tell me you did it. I'll give you 50% extra credit on that if you try it. And what happens if you try this for 80 degrees? Okay, so next. Oh, this is going to be so much fun. So Kristen, I'm sorry you don't have the toys like we do. For the next activity, number 6, we're going to play with pattern blocks. So I think we might have looked at pattern blocks once upon a time in this class. Oh, with fractions. Yeah, fraction stuff. So I need everybody to come up and grab a selection of pattern blocks. You need a few of each to play around here. So come on up, grab some. Yeah, those are foam. I like the wood ones better. It's up to you. And if you want to take some of these home to play with them, you can. I don't think you really need to here. We're just using them for this one activity. For those of you that aren't physically with me right now, on the activity 11.6 page, I put a link to an online app. And that online app will allow us to play with pattern blocks. And with this activity, we're jumping into section 4 of the book.
we need the orange squares too?
Yeah, you need some squares too. Yeah, and some of these skinny ones too. Yeah, you need a few of everything. So you need some of the green triangles, you need some orange squares, some blue rhombuses or rhombi, whatever your preference is. You need some red trapezoids. You need some of the clear-ish looking skinny rhombis and some hexagons. A few of each should be sufficient.
Oh, really?
Like 3 of each should be more than enough. Oh, I forgot the screen is missing. Is that what you're going to say or something else?
No, this is all so good.
What's up?
Is that the t-shirt where you like pull the pocket down? Yeah, okay.
Christmas present from my daughters. Oh, you haven't
what do
seen
you-
this. I don't want to show it on the camera.
That's what you use that.
Yeah, my daughters thought they were pretty darn funny when they got this. Because I got it and I put it on and I had no idea.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they kept messing with my pocket. What is this doing? And they would giggle, post something to Snapchat. So, let's see. So the first order of business here is for each of these pattern blocks, we want to find out what is the measure of each of their angles. So for example, the square, we're all pretty knowledgeable about that. It's 4 right angles, they're each 90 degrees. Okay. What about the triangle? What do we know about it? It's isosceles, so they're all the same angle, and there's going to be 3 of them adds up to 180, and so they're 60 each. That is correct. So then copy this into my notebook. So try to figure out how to get the angles for each of these and then check with me or a neighbor to confirm. So this section 11.4. Activity 11.6. Interior angles. Polygons is the main topic. And so you can use these by laying them on top of each other. So like with my physical toys, where's my thing here? I might note that if I take a green triangle and set it on top of a blue rhombus, it fits pretty nice. So that gives me a little bit of information about my blue trapezoid. So what can you tell me about the angles inside my blue trapezoid then?
They're going to be 120 degrees.
120 and 60. Awesome. Yeah. So I've got 60 degrees here and 60 degrees there. And there's 2 sets of 60, so 120 degrees up here. Some of these are easier than others.
Do we draw the shapes we use next one? Is that what it says sketch the blocks we use to illustrate?
Yeah. So like on mine, I drew it with cutting it in half with 2 green triangles. So kind of like I did on this digital screen up here. I replaced it with 2 of those.
whole thing would help if we could add, right?
Adding is sometimes helpful.
Yeah.
Anyone have any luck with the skinny rhombus? What do you think, Ashley?
The obtuse angles are 150, and then the small ones are 30.
Okay. So we got 30 degrees for the acute angle here, 150 degrees for the obtuse angle. And I can show you one way I played with blocks to get that. I put two of those skinny ones together, and then I noticed a green triangle sat right on top really nice. So that means two of the acute angles are 60. So one of them would have to be 30. And then I noticed that if I put the green triangle here and I lined up another one right there, guess what fits perfectly in that little slot? One of those. So that gives me 60, 30, and 60, which is the 150. There's more than one way to do this, playing with the blocks. So if you get this page down, take a look at the next page.
Would this be a rhombus too? Or is it-
That is also a rhombus, yeah. So a rhombus has 4 equal sides.
Okay.
So the blue thing is a rhombus and the clear thing is a rhombus. Oh!
Bless you.
Anyone get to the hexagon yet? What do you think it is?
160.
Not 160. What you got?
120.
120. Yeah, it turns out it's 120 all around. And one reason I got that is I noticed that I can fill this with green triangles. And 2 green triangles, when they meet tight, they form 60 and 60, which is 120 angle, 120 degree angle. So the next thing you want to do is you want to build yourself a convex pentagon. Remember the difference between convex and concave. And then, now we already have a hexagon, but we do not have, so we don't have a 5-sided figure, so we need to build one. The part 2 says build a 7-sided figure, convex. That's called a heptagon. And so once you get each of those built, you could raise your hand for a sec. Let me know. I found the pentagon way easier than the heptagon.
Does it have to be regular?
It doesn't have to be regular, but it has to be convex, not concave.
Convex.
That is concaves right there. Yeah, so that's a good one. Let me take a look at that. Okay, so I'll build that up here. So actually you can check out mine. I have 3 pentagons up here. But one of them is not like the other. Which one and why?
The bottom one, because it.
Yeah, the bottom one is concave, not convex. So let me bring this into my screen to draw on it. There's a couple ways to determine whether a figure is concave or convex. One way is that if you can find a diagonal that's outside the figure, so for example, if I connect this vertex to that vertex, that diagonal is outside. If any diagonal is outside, it's called a convex figure. The other way to determine if something is convex is if you have any interior angle that's more than 180 degrees. Okay, so that interior angle is 210 degrees, I think. Did I do that right? No. I'll get back to you on that angle. But it's more than 180. Okay. Up here, any diagonal, so from here to any other points is inside. From here to any other point is inside. From here to any other point is inside. So this one is definitely concave. Concave. Oh, that went wrong. There we go. Since all of the diagonals live inside of it, or if you measured each interior angle, the interior angle is less than 180. Okay. You all right, Tiffany?
Yes.
Okay. Taylor?
Yes.
All right. Emily, better?
Just having trouble with
The heptagon? Yes. So every time I try to build this heptagon, I struggle. And if you don't do it today, don't worry about it. There's always another day to build a heptagon. Yeah, so I can come up with 6 ways to build a convex heptagon. So, yeah, no, concave. Convex is way harder. Think you got one?
Yeah.
Ooh, can I see?
I lost the box, so I can't put them back together.
Oh no, try.
I'll try.
Try, yeah, okay. So let me just say, okay, so you got 1, 2,
Almost I can't count
4,
stuff.
5, 6, 7, yeah.
Okay.
That's 7 sides. Yeah, see if you can show me the blocks there. Is that one? Nice. Okay. That is a nice one. And it's symmetric. Ooh, I wonder if that looks like mine. Let me see. I used different shapes, but mine had a similar look to it. Oh, where did I put it? Drive. Spoil this for everybody. Okay.
I don't know if this is the way I did it, but I made it.
You've made it happen again?
Yeah, I don't know if this is the same way I did it though,
Okay.
but it's more or less.
Okay. Cool. Wow. Yeah, check out Nikki's, and Nikki, check out Ashley's there.
You did yours.
I'm going to see. And then since you're both up, come around and check out my second screen over here that no one else can see. Bottom left, I have one.
Oh, okay.
Which has a similar shape to both of yours. And I've made a very irregular one before. This one has a line of symmetry. I'm sure I made one that didn't have a line of symmetry. All right, so let me see if I can reproduce. Circle.
I think I did it. Yeah.
All right. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay.
Does this count?
That is a concave. Yeah, and like I said, I came up with a ton of concave ones, but coming up with a convex one was wicked hard. So let's see. You just take a picture of it if you want. And then you can just share the picture later. Hexagon. Oh my, they sit on top of each other? Oh. Oh, check that out. Nikki, come here, check this out. So there's yours.
Oh, they're like the same size.
And there's mine. Yeah,
That's
different shapes,
funny.
same figure. Cool.
Did I do it? Can you check?
All right, yeah. Let's see. So let's start. Oh, so close.
And this.
You got the right idea.
Yeah.
I
This
couldn't,
one
well,
becomes-
Nikki did it, but I had to use these guys. Nikki did
Because
it.
every
without.
diagonal only goes across the side. Here, this one. And that's- This is frustrating.
Yeah, that's okay. Some problems are.
I was like, oh, I'm hearing something.
I mean, you could just throw this out there.
So what?
And then we get an email.
For what you need. I'm seriously.
Yeah, it's hard to come up with an odd number of sides.
It's working.
Yeah. Okay, that's all right. You're close. Any luck? Ooh, that's,
Not 6.
that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh, that was the base for one of mine.
What was
That.
this?
This right here, exactly what you have here.
Okay,
And
so
then
if
I
I
threw a
keep
couple
going.
more pieces on there and I was able to do it. Did you come close?
No.
Oh, okay. So, let's see. Kristen, I'm gonna stop this video and then start another one because this is getting kind of long. So I will do the invite button and I'll post it to Google. All right, so stop.